Hey folks, my guest today is Travis Tillotson. He is building a tool called SunRoof.us. He's a Louisiana native, Tulane grad, MIT OCW, then New York City, where he founded his last tech company in 2011 from a closet, truly a closet, and grew to 10 million bucks in sales before exiting. We're going to jump into all of it today. Travis, you ready to take us to the top?
I am indeed.
All right. Tell us about that first company. When did you launch that business? What year?
Launched in 2011,
And
and
that was actual launch or first line of code or LLC filing or what?
that's LLC filing.
Nice, nice. And so you built that for how many years?
Actually, since up until 2019, we exited in November.
Okay.
Raised $10 million of capital throughout that process. Our first, big round of capital was in 2015, in 2018, and from there we achieved a few accolades like number 290 fastest growing companies, number three best place to work Cranes magazine. That fastest growing companies was Inc. magazine in 2018. And
What was revenue that year in 2018?
six.
Six, up from what?
Um, that was for sort of 2017, 2018 numbers. I would say our growth rate was high. It was you can look it up in the magazine, I guess, but
You don't come on. That's not something you remember. You don't remember you were in the magazine. You
yeah,
don't remember.
oh no, I'm saying we were like at like two the
Got
prior
it.
year. Yeah,
Got it.
we were attacking hedge funds and private equity firms. That was our like explosive growth vertical. They're willing to pay very quickly and really pay a lot for research, disrupting the sell side using alternative data.
And
And
how did you get that thing off the ground? Were you sole founder or did you bring in co-founders?
so I was sole founder initially, and basically I had started selling to the enterprise. And the long and short of it is selling to the enterprise for several years, had issues with the standard consultant's dilemma of selling kind of alt data at the time. So reporting to, various enterprise organizations on the advertising metrics across the country. And if you gave them bad news, wouldn't necessarily be rehired. It was almost a consulting-esque model and turned into a software model. And then, basically brought in people who were experts in the, financial sphere to be partners. And we ended up selling our research and data and getting paid for it, no matter what the outcome was. So we weren't being paid just to paint rosy pictures. We're also being paid to
So,
paint
so
just.
Travis, sorry, just because I want to focus on Sunroof. So I'm just trying to get the equity story of Sergo, right? So when you guys sold, I guess how much equity do you still own?
I'd sold the equity that I'd owned was 33%.
Okay. Would you do the same thing? Like you raise some capital, you brought in some co-founders. Is there anything you'd change about how you manage the cap table there?
I think that I've learned a lot of things in the past, and I will say that make sure you find the right partners. Like I want to make sure that I find the right financing partners. I want to make sure that ultimately, you work with people that you like to work with and ensure good and clear communication. I mean, from my perspective, it was really just a lot of lessons learned from a real first-time founder. So the standard
Mhm.
lessons you guys probably talk about every day and or every week of
Mhm.
founders who've been through an exit, raise capital. So yeah, I would treat it as don't go after those lofty valuations a little, too early just because people are willing to give them to you, because then your expectations are much higher afterwards.
So what was your valuation in 2018 when you raised the 7 million?
Valuation was 30.
And did that feel fair at the time? Did that bite you in the butt or was that fair and then good?
I would say it. I would say that from it just is all about setting expectations and recognizing that if you're taking in these dollars, I fully expected that we could achieve and accomplish our goals, but I also there's a balance of, I guess you could say, hedging appropriately. So understanding like, okay, does this mean that we're going to be raising capital forever? Does
Yep.
this mean that we're going to be, our goal now is to get to 300 million. Let's just assume the 10x rule. So are we going to need three more financing rounds to get there? Or are we going to be able to do it with this financing round? Ideally, I think you can build very strong, healthy software businesses without requiring capital once you get over that real hurdle. And you get to that like magic mark from that 10 million to 50 million number, which we were not able to achieve, 10 million to 50 million ARR. And, that really is kind of the goal, is ensuring that, getting a sticky market and make sure you have true product market fit and reducing churn.
Yep.
Standard talking point for all software.
Standard playbook. All right, just to put a bow on that story before I go into SunRoof. So you grew it to call it past $6 million in revenue. You raised about 9-10 million bucks in capital, and you sold it. You said last year or 2019?
A couple of years ago. So it's been basically 2 years.
2 years. Okay, got it. So
November 19, like the staff went to the acquirer's office in November of 2019. So then that's transitionary period. And, from there it was in their hands where it was kind of like take a step back and see how it goes.
And what was the exit price?
That's something I can't really share because we still have components that are moving in place. So we did have a fixed number, but depending on how that fares out over this period of time, I'll let it speak to upon completion.
Yeah. So if I'm reading you right, basically there was a component of it that wasn't like cash up front. There was maybe an earnout, maybe some stock involved, and you're not quite sure what that's going to end up being value-wise.
Precisely. And COVID was an interesting little hiccup that was not anticipated necessarily.
Yeah. The reason I ask is just to finish off that story is because you raised 70 on the 30, right? So if you sold for less than the $30 million valuation, many people would go as effectively a down round when you exited. Would you agree?
If it was a down round and we exited, I mean, basically with all the factors in play, since given the amount of capital that we raised, it was the best decision for the company at the time, best decision for all the shareholders, unanimous board consent to move forward with what we had. And that was the best opportunity for us. It wasn't the headline exit that we had necessarily, wanted and or anticipated, but it was what we did. So it's something that I kind of, I think it's a lessons learned story from the perspective of exciting, rapid growth, but certainly want to make sure that how we account for things moving forward and how I do things moving forward is done in a way that takes those lessons learned. So getting to an exit, working with the right investment bank, making sure that everything is, done properly on the roadshow. I can't imagine investing in a first-time founder, having never gone through kind of a roadshow experience and just trying to wheel and deal. That's kind of, it's something that was new to me and I was able to do it, but I certainly think you could always room for improvement, I guess, with everything. Right. So,
yep. Okay. So you close out that chapter of your life. Now, did you make FU sort of money on that deal, or was it just enough money to have a little in savings, or what?
No, not FU money.
Okay.
And that's why basically, there's a balance because we were really exciting. We had a whole floor and a bunch of great staff, honestly, great product, great technology, great client list. We're talking top investors in the world were our clients. And, sky's the limit. That said, one thing that was our end market, did have some difficulty. So just as quickly as they're willing to shell out money, they're also willing to, move on to what's hot, what's not. And I think that that's an interesting dilemma that's very specific to that market, because it's the opposite of software. Once you get, 25 large holders buying your data and insights, basically they have diminishing returns. They can start to lose alpha. So
totally. They lose the edge. The more you sell to, the more edge they lose, because then everyone else has the same data. So, hey, listen, we only have about 5-6 minutes left. Let's focus on SunRoof now. So you're selling now to banks, helping them service loans faster. What do they pay? What's your model? They pay you a % of loans completed, a SaaS fee? What's it look like?
Basically customer orchestration from the customer experience components to the employee experience components, and then the ORM component, the online reputation management component. So we're looking at a market that really is crushing it right now, meaning the lending market in space, let's say mortgages, lending. And,
so not B2B loans, it's consumer loans, mortgages, things like that.
And there's a B2B component. So we've tested different verticals.
But what's your main one right now? Is it helping banks service home mortgages?
Yes.
Okay.
And basically right now what we're doing is really trying to make sure that we take this next step to propel us to get to 50 customers, 100 customers, really make sure we make all these decisions so we are actually solving all the problems that we know we can solve, but solving the right problems where there's not just a bunch of VC money being thrown in. And
so Travis, you're bootstrapped right now?
Yes, bootstrapped. So I've self-funded it for the past...
well, come on. How much of your ass is on the line? How much of your own money have you put in?
A good amount. I will say a good amount.
More than $250,000?
We could say, yeah. I mean, we can, yeah. I'm looking at not like a fun amount, like.
Okay, so it's more than 250 grand. I won't push harder, but more than 250.
Yeah, you could say that.
Okay, fair. So you put in your own money, but you hopefully own about 100% of the business, right?
Yeah. I mean,
yeah. So no co-founders, no investors.
Right. And basically we are, right now looking at an instrument that didn't even exist, a safe note, didn't even exist when I founded my last company. So safe note financing, people who were, aware and or invested in me before, who are interested and or involved, and then looking at, accomplishing certain core metrics and goals, and basically over the next like 3 to 6 months. And then from there, really already starting that Series A pipeline to make sure that we're properly capitalized, but with the right vision and the right, team members in place. So I've got, kick-ass team across the country.
How many are on the team?
So we have an advisory board who's like inactive kind of role members.
Just how many full-time employees though?
Full-time, we have 5.
5. Okay, cool. And how many engineers?
3.
3. Okay. So, heavy engineering then. And are you an engineer or are you doing all the business sales marketing?
I'm more doing the business sales marketing. I do understand and can do engineering. I just can't get stuck to that. I'm not an expert and I don't want to keep up with all of it. So I understand how the components work, understand how, what we're doing, but not enough to say that I'm going to be innovating something beyond on the front facing. More of the front end than the back end,
So I'm a bank. I'm using you. I'm loving you. Let's say last month I landed a new $1 million loan to a resident here in Austin, Texas, and I'm using you to make sure that customer is really, really happy. How much are you making on that $1 million loan?
So we're not structured to make a percentage of loans. Okay. So we're structured as a subscription model. And that's one of the components that we're actually really trying to pin down, because we are able to drive a high price given what we're actually doing, because it is a very fragmented market.
How high? Like, what's the average customer paying you per month, would you say?
The range could be from, let's call it $4,000 to $12,000 a month.
And why would someone pay 12 versus 4? Like, what are you upselling against?
Oh, there's customer experience. Then there's employee experience, and then there's ORM. So essentially, we're looking at first-party data for the customer experience and employee experience. So we're looking at survey data, analytics on performance, metrics that actually are inside the organization. And then we're looking at the ORM component and how it impacts the actual journey at the end. So encouraging users to, discuss and talk about reviews and such. And that's something that, So you're upselling based off these products. They can buy 1 product, 2 products, or all 3 products. And if they buy 3, they're paying $12,000 a month, probably. Yes, in its current state. And that's assuming that we don't make any price modifications.
But you will.
Exactly. So right now I will say, I can definitively say that price modifications could always be considered when we're attacking the market in mass.
Mm-hmm. And how many customers do you have on the platform today?
3 customers.
3 customers. And you think you'll get to 50 in the next year, you said?
So it depends on if we're willing to sell independently one of the components, or if we require 2 to be purchased to engage. And that's a decision we're making at kind of the, leadership and such. Because do we really want to have all of the onboarding? We want to take on those costs and absorb those costs of integration for just one step or one tier to be able to pay. That's something that's currently being actively discussed and engaged.
So Travis, 3 customers, minimum price points $4,000 a month. That means at a minimum you're doing about $12,000 a month right now in MRR. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay. And so why go out and raise a safe? You have some money. Why not keep, self-funding and keep 100%?
Ultimately, I want to. So the market's just sitting there for the taking. And one thing that I will say is that if you're always raising capital, it is a big distraction. And doing a safe allows us to hire the right team and attack the market and get market share in a very position of comfort. Right now, I would say our customers aren't getting enough. We're not collecting enough feedback from our customers to make the true blue product decisions we need to be making, that we need to be hearing, we need to be listening to, because we don't even have real, a ton of managers. We don't even have managers full-time managing these customers. So it's
so what's the right amount? How much are you trying to raise right now?
The right amount is small. So we are talking very low, $1 million bucks, 1.5.
And how do you, obviously it's a negotiation. It's very much art, not science, but what cap would you love to raise at?
I'd say basically are using 2-component val cap and discounts. So 8 and then the discount rate that we're providing and are offering in its current form. Mm-hmm. So, it's reasonable because then we feel that no matter what, the investors are really aligned with our.
Well, what's the valuation? I mean, the safe discount is pretty typical, 20%, and the interest rate is pretty typical at 8%. The cap is really what matters. I mean, so are you talking like a 5 million cap or something different?
No, 8 million.
8 million cap. Okay, got it. And then these are pretty standard terms. So do you think, I mean, it's really your storytelling and your back.
Relatively standard. It also allows us the flexibility of not having common and preferred, which is something that, having done in the past, that is something that's highly relevant to me. It's like nice to have everybody be fully aligned and not have some people have interests that may not necessarily align, because my interests always align with just making the company the most valuable as possible, of course.
Yep. And you just remind us too, you really got this going last year, right? You launched in 2020?
Yeah.
Yep. Very cool. Well, we're rooting for you. We hope to get the deal done and you get up to 50 customers here quickly. In the meantime, though, let's wrap up with the famous 5. Number 1, favorite business book.
Favorite business book. Oh, the famous 5. I don't know the famous 5. I would say Principles, Ray Dalio.
Number 2, is there a CEO you're following or studying?
I'd say Elon Musk is always standard CEO. I like to see what he's doing. Interesting.
Number 3, what's your favorite online tool for building SunRoof?
I would have to say Airtable.
Yep. Number 4, how many hours of sleep do you get every night?
4. And
situation, married, single, kiddos?
Single.
No kids running around?
No kids. No. But I do have a partner, but nothing. We're not, engaged yet.
And how old are you, Travis?
How old is that?
How old are you? Yeah.
Yeah, 37.
37. Last question. Something you wish you knew when you were 20.
Wish I knew when I was 20?
Yep.
I wish I knew. I guess how I would. I guess I would be able to predict the future a little bit better, and basically understand how metrics worked. I think that if I really had a better feel for metrics and not just growth, I think I would have made some decisions a little differently.
Guys, he owned 33% of his last company when they sold that in 2019. He launched that in 2011, raised about $10 million, grew it to well over $6 million in revenue before exiting, used a little bit of that money to put it into this new company, SunRoof.us. It's really helping banks manage loans more effectively, both the bank employees and the customer who took the loan. It helps with the entire customer experience. He helps to continue to scaling, currently doing, helping 3 customers at about $4,000 a month each, so $12,000 a month in MRR as he looks to scale up to 50 here in the next 12 months or so, currently raising $1 million on an 8 cap on a safe. We will see what happens. Travis, thanks for taking us to the top.
Thanks, Nathan.
One more thing before you go. We have a brand new show every Thursday at 1 p.m. Central. It's called Shark Tank for SaaS. We call it Deal or Bust. One founder comes on, 3 hungry buyers, they try and do a deal live, and the founder shares back-end dashboards, their expenses, their revenue, ARPU, CAC, LTV, you name it, they share it. And the buyers try and make a deal live. It is fun to watch every Thursday, 1 p.m. Central. Additionally, remember, these recorded founder interviews go live. We release them here on YouTube every day at 2 p.m. Central. To make sure you don't miss any of that, make sure you click the subscribe button below here on YouTube, the big red button, and then click the little bell notification to make sure you get notifications when we do go live. I wouldn't want you to miss breaking news in the SaaS world, whether it's an acquisition, a big fundraise, a big sale, a big profitability statement, or something else. I don't want you to miss it. Additionally, if you want to take this conversation deeper and further, we have by far the largest private Slack community for B2B SaaS founders. You want to get in there. We've probably talked about your tool if you're running a company or your firm if you're investing. You can go in there and quickly search and see what people are saying. Sign up for that at nathanlatka.com/Slack. In the meantime, I'm hanging out with you here on YouTube. I'll be in the comments for the next 30 minutes. Feel free to let me know what you thought about this episode. And if you enjoyed it, click the thumbs up. We get a lot of haters that are mad at how aggressive I am on these shows, but I do it so that we can all learn. We have to counter those people. We got to push them away. Click the thumbs up below to counter them and know that I appreciate your guys' support. All right, I'll be in the comments. See ya.